Hello, my art-loving friends. I was gone for a month, the whole month of July and into August, just by a couple of days. And I just now unpacked that huge tub of art supplies I brought with me, which I'll link that video in the corner and the description box below if you want to catch up. But when I was unpacking that huge tub, I ran across my Gallo paints because I brought them thinking I might be able to put the palette together and all of that, but I didn't get to it. So that's what we're doing today. I saw them, it made me very excited about my Gallo paints again, and here we are. So the problem I have with these is I bought 4 new colors. I know there's 5 in here. One's a duplicate of the yellow, just so I have a spare before my no-buy started. And there's only place for 3 colors because the ones in the middle can only fit sideways. So I just have to modify this palette a little bit to make sure these middle ones can fit the other direction. So basically I just pull all these out and I'll pop the metal holders off because they're just riveted in there or something like that. And use the base because this one has mixing space in it, which makes it too awkward to try and attach pans to. I guess if I use this Uhu tack stuff, it would probably work just fine, but I still like to have a flat base, which is why this plate is really good for that. So the trick is to pull these off without bending the base plate by too much. Now, you don't have to use this base plate. You can grab a piece of paper, cut it this size, and laminate it to make it thick, or a piece of thin cardboard or whatever. I just tend to use the plates that come with these because they usually work okay. This one's being stubborn, however. There we go. So let's see if I do that on this one. Just grab it this way and pull like I did the other one. It might pop right off there. No problem. Essentially, I have ruined these. I could bin these back, but I don't care. They're going in the trash because I've been cleaning out my grandma's house for a couple months, and frankly, I am tired of stuff. There's just too much stuff everywhere. So the idea of that was now 3 pans can fit the up and down direction instead of one having to be sideways like that. So you see that? Now we can fit all of these colors. And instead of re-swatching all the ones that were in there, I simply just take my scissors and I cut this one apart. I'll swatch the new colors and then I'll decide the order that I want them in. So you'll see that. Okay, new colors. Let me just open this and I'll show them to you. This was a generous gift from a friend. Ultramarine turquoise, lovely, so beautiful. Then Quin Magenta and Naturno, neutral tint, and then this is the same yellow that I already have here. Lemon yellow. Well, I thought it was the same yellow, but turns out it's not. This is lemon yellow. It's a PY3, but this one's lemon yellow permanent, which is a PY184 because PY3 is not as light fast as other yellows. So now I think I'll put this PY3 off in the spares area and use this more permanent one. I guess that way, if I paint something that uses a lot of yellow, and I tend to use a lot of yellow, it'll be more light fast, which is good. One thing kind of fun about the Gallo paints is these swatches that you get the packages in are actually hand painted on watercolor paper. I don't know if this one is, but this one is actual hand painted swatch. So technically you wouldn't have to re-swatch them, but I like to because sometimes my colors turn out looking a little different than the ones here. I'm not sure why. I'll unwrap each of these, then you can slide them out of this package if you wanted to keep this, or open them if you want and glue them into some kind of binder. But they're not written on with the exception of the color name, and so I'll put the other information from this wrapper on here with a permanent marker, and I'll do that for all of them, and then we'll see what they look like on paper. I'm excited. I'm going to start with the neutral tint. Beautiful. This one is a Series 2 color, PBK7, PR122, PB15:3. It is light fast of 8, which is their highest rating. And what else? Medium staining, non-granulating, semi-transparent. Next up is the Naturno. Series 3, PB29, PR101, and PV19. Oh, wow. Beautiful. Light fast 8, staining, granulating, and they are considering this one semi-transparent as well. Next up is the Ultramarine Turquoise. Series 2, PB29 and PG27. Wow. Beautiful. Anyway, Lightfast 8, medium staining, granulating, semi-transparent. This is the Quinacridone Magenta, Series 2, PR122. Wow, that's brilliant. I love it. Lightfast 7, medium staining, non-granulating, and transparent. This is very dry paper. This is Fabriano. I'll show those to you again when they're dry. Let's do the yellow. Permanent Lemon Yellow, PY184, Series 2 color, Lightfast of 8, non-staining, non-granulating, semi-opaque. All right. It looks very similar to the PY3 version, so they're good substitution for each other. So here are all the labels next to their swatches, and I would say in this case they match perfectly, which is cool. We could use these to put them in place if we want to, but I'll probably just cut little pieces out of this. I don't know yet. They look exactly the same, so I'll probably just use these. And now the fun part of arranging your swatches in the order you want in your new palette. Sometimes this is easy, sometimes it's hard, but it's always fun. And right here is about the layout I decided on. I like it. It works. And here in the palette, I am using a product called Score Tape. It's just double-sided, strong tape. It's acid-free, archival, all of that, so you don't have to worry about it in your palette, although it's under your pans. It really doesn't matter. It's only if you put it on your watercolor paper that it matters. But the only trick with this is because the palette has the curved corners, you do have to be aware of how high or low you're putting those edge corner pans, because they'll kind of try to push up if you don't get them just right. But other than that, it's pretty straightforward. You're just sticking the pans down to this little palette plate now, and then I will use the Uhu tack, you'll see that here in a second, to go ahead and place this back in the palette, because sometimes these metal pans or metal plates will rattle around inside the palette and it drives me crazy. So a little bit of that Uhu tack is perfect for slipping between the two. Right here you can see that, and it just keeps it from sliding around and making noise. It's awesome. And in case you're not familiar with my Gallo palette, I'll tell you what these colors are. That one is Buff Titanium, PW6:1. That's the Ultramarine, PB29, followed by the Permanent Carmine, PV19. We're going to the Indian Yellow, PY110 and PY154, Transparent Cerulean, PB15:3, Dioxazine Violet, PV37. This one was supposed to be the Burnt Sienna, but I actually did the Burnt Umber Dark, PBR7. Oops, I'll have to fix that later. That one is the Viridian Hue, PG7, PB29, followed by Payne's Gray, PB15:1, PBK7, and PV19. It's a pretty one. This one is Roman Black Earth, PBK11, very granulating. It's Chromium Oxide, PG17. Going back up here to Vermilion Red, PR255. Followed up by the Lemon Yellow Permanent, PY184. We're going to follow that up with Yenmin Blue, or however you say it, PB86. My favorite blue, but it's oh so expensive. This was a generous gift from a friend. Thank you again, because I love this blue so much. Then we're going to Quin Magenta, PR122. Going to follow that with the Yellow Ochre, PY43B. The Yellow Ochre is an interesting one. We're not there yet because I messed up my swatch sheet, but this one here, PY43B. I don't know. It's kind of like a Indian yellow mixed with something. Ultramarine Turquoise, PB29, PG7. That one is Naturno, PB29, PR101, and PV19, followed by Burnt Sienna, PBR7. That's when I realized I got those out of order, and I was like, oh, crud. Sap Green, PY83, PG36, and PV19, and PR101. And that one is Neutral Tint, PBK7, PR122, PB15:3. That's a lot of mixes. But anyway, you can see there I am changing that burnt sienna and the burnt umber dark. Don't know how I did that, but I did, but I fixed it. And then I have to cut my swatch sheet apart and fix those two so I can switch them in the right direction. So I just flip them over and tape them on the back. It works out just fine. It's better than redoing the entire swatch sheet, although the swatch sheet kind of ended up being a tiny bit of a mess in the magenta purple area, but it's not too bad. I can fix that later if I want. Anyway, look at that ultramarine turquoise. That was beautiful. And then I wanted to do some mixing. So I have my Pentalic Aqua Journal here, but I messed up some of the lines and I put down watercolor ground below the first two arrows you're seeing on the left there, top and bottom. Anyway, it turns out that I don't think I let the watercolor ground dry long enough. So when I did my color mixing, you'll see it. It's kind of a funny effect, I guess, when you paint on not dry enough watercolor ground. The instructions do say you're supposed to let it sit for like 24 hours before painting on it, but you know, who does what they're supposed to? So what I'm doing here is just putting the colors neat on, and then I'll mix that Naturno with the permanent lemon yellow first, and I get a really pretty kind of green gray, and then it goes into more of an olive green, really neat. And then that is the permanent lemon yellow with a neutral tint, and I also get some really pretty greens. That one looks gray in the video, but it's very green, leaning gray, and then gets more green as it goes down. Now, I thought using this Pentalic Aqua Journal would be a good idea, but I actually wish I had done this mixing on cotton paper. So that's the neutral tint with the ultramarine turquoise. Then I really wanted to mix the ultramarine turquoise with the magenta, but I didn't leave myself a slot for that. But you can see the beautiful color we get with that mix, which I did on the far right there. This is the Naturno with buff titanium, very nice. And the buff titanium with the quin magenta, also pretty darn neat. Sorry, the camera focus going in and out. I thought I had that fixed, but turns out I didn't. And the quin magenta with the lemon yellow. Ran out of mixing space. That's the drawback of a small palette like this. Didn't really get the bright orange I wanted, but I think my quin magenta was a little bit contaminated with the ultramarine turquoise, so that's my bad. Anyway, still pretty orange down there at the bottom. And I was impatient pulling the tape off and it ripped the paper, but cellulose paper is more prone to ripping anyway. I still like this journal, but should have used cotton paper, I guess. So I know I went through that color mixing pretty quickly, but here's a better look, and you can see where that watercolor ground, where it wasn't dry, how the paint acts up strangely in that left column. Yeah, right there. But you can kind of see the colors on each end of it, right? Yes. Anyway, this is a pretty accurate representation of the colors that I got, and I think they're quite pretty. I would like to do some more color mixing with some of these, but really I just want to paint with this palette, so hopefully I'll get a chance to do that very soon. Look how pretty the palette looks now. Look at all those pretty colors. 21 beautiful A Gallo colors. So thank you to the two ladies who have sent me A Gallo Colors, the Yinmin Blue, and the Ultramarine Turquoise. You ladies are wonderful. It's always nice to receive watercolor gifts. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope this was enjoyable for you as well, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now. Wait. I need you to move. Hey. I need to make my March calendar here. You are not... Ow, 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 ow! You're not being very helpful. And your fur is going everywhere. Why do you shed so much? Hey, I need to brush you more. Look at this. Look at this fur. Yeah, that's yours. Your fur. Here, have a ruler. Okay. You need to get off of my schedule. Ah! Okay, I need to make more marks. You're in the way. You're in the way. Oh, Look at the mess you just made. Okay, can we do this with you? Ha! I got a line in there, haha. Have a ruler. Have a ruler.